إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على دين كله ولو كره المشركون. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لما قضى الله الخلق كتب في كتابه على نفسه فهو موضوع عنده إن رحمتي تغلب غضبي. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in a hadith mentioned in Bukhari and Nasa'i and Ibn Majah that when Allah decreed the creation, He pledged Himself by writing in His book, which is laid down with Him, my mercy prevails over my wrath. SubhanAllah. I just want to begin by mentioning another hadith. It's mentioned in Tirmidhi, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, after you there are going to be days of patience. The patience during that time is like the one clutching onto hot coal. During those days, the rewards for the one who adheres to the commands of Allah will be equivalent to the reward of 50 men who did an action like this. Today we're living in a time where holding on to Islam is a struggle. The ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam faces a struggle to hold on to Islam. And this hadith about holding on to hot coal very aptly describes our reality. Very aptly describes it. We've recently seen the anniversary of 9/11. The day which changed the rules of the game. From that day onwards, there's been an increased spotlight on Islam, fixed on Islam. Everyone is scrutinizing Islam. Everyone wants to talk about Islam. Everyone wants to attack Islam. Everyone wants to mock Islam ever since that day. And this attack on Islam has taken many forms and takes many shapes. So we have the physical side, the invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan. Countless Muslims killed. The blood of our Muslim brothers spilled. On the anniversary of 9/11, when they were mourning their dead, they killed 4 people in Pakistan. Drone attacks, killing Muslims in Pakistan. We've been tortured, forcibly imprisoned, humiliated. There's another side as well. There's an intellectual, a psychological, more of a verbal side to this attack. And we see that increasingly in Europe. It's a core, fundamental aspects of Islam. Fundamental aspects of Islam. Sharia. Is it barbaric? Is it backwards? Can it be applied today? The status of women in Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself, his wife Aisha radiallahu anha, which is directly attacking the hadith, if you think about it. Whatever, we can carry on and look at all the different things which are under scrutiny, which are being challenged, which are being attacked. But amongst all of this chaos, the Muslims are in the center of it. And the Muslims have an important duty, an important responsibility, and an important task. And what is that? That is the task of defending this deen. That is standing for this deen. That is standing for Islam. Articulating the cause for Islam. Articulating the case for Islam. And how do we do that? What is the manner in which we do that? We can only follow the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In Surah Ahzab, verse 21, what does it say? Uswatun hasana. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the best example. And we must follow his example. And when we look at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and we see the time of the Arabs, the Quraysh at that time, his message came to directly challenge the authority of the Quraysh. Similarly, today Islam has come as a direct challenge. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam came with Tawheed, whereas the Arabs at the time, they worshipped idols. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam directly challenged all of the corrupt practices of the Arabs at that time. All of the backwardness of the Arabs at that time. And we look at many ayats of Quran. So, in Surah Mutaffifin, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا اكْتَالُوا عَلَى النَّاسِ يَسْتَوْفُونَ وَإِذَا كَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ يُخْسِرُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, woe to al-mutaffifin, those who when they have to receive by measure from men, demand full measure. And when they have to give by measure or weight to men, they give less than is due. This is a common practice at the time. Cheating in the marketplace. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam addressed it. he challenged it directly. The ayahs of Surah Ma'un. When Abu Sufyan rebuked the orphan child, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمِ. When he refused the orphan child, Rasulullah ﷺ came with a direct challenge, accounting the rulers of the Quraysh. In all the ayahs of Quran, وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. When the infant child asked, for what reason was she killed? Directly challenging. Do you see the manner in which Rasulullah ﷺ responded to the Quraysh? In this intellectual, in this manner where he challenged them directly, challenged their authority, and explained the superiority of Islam. This is what we must do today. One thing is for sure, silence wasn't an option. This is not the sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ. This is not what Rasulullah ﷺ did. And the reason this point is important is because today we see countless injustices in the world. We see our own Muslim rulers oppressing the Muslims. Whether that be Assad, whether that be Saleh, whether it be before him Gaddafi, whether it be Ben Ali, whether it be Mubarak. We see them oppressing the people. And many say, let's remain silent, let's not do anything. This is not what we do. We need to act. And we always must act in the best manner possible, inshallah. And if we look at the response of the Quraysh, we see many parallels of the response that we see today. So what did the Quraysh try to do? Slander and attack Islam. Slander Rasulullah ﷺ. Rival the Quran. Change the Quran. Bring something like the Quran. They tried all of it. Again, we see that today. People calling for a modern version of Islam. They attacked the weak ones of the companions. We see Muslims attack today. They tried to boycott, they tried everything. Today we see similar things, we see similar parallels. But we must take the example of Rasulullah and respond in the same manner. Now, this response, this responsibility of acting and defending this deen and standing for Islam, it's not easy. No one's claiming it's an easy work. We're not denying the difficulty of this work. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Jannah doesn't come easy. He tells us in the Quran, do you think you're going to get Jannah simply because you say La ilaha illallah? No. You have to act. You have to act. It's a difficult work with a great reward. Now, to be successful in this work requires certain attitude, certain mindset, certain thinking. It requires us to have certain behaviors and certain characteristics. And that is what I want to go through today. Discuss just a couple of the characteristics that we must embody to be successful in this work in defending the deen. And the first one that I want to go through is when you have conviction in Islam, the confidence and the courage that you develop. So when you understand that this deen that you have is something special, when you're convinced it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you realize that this deen is something worth struggling for, worth sacrificing your time for, worth sacrificing your sleep, your energy, when you realize that this deen is something special in your life, and you have that confidence in it, you can go out with your head up high. But it's not easy in this reality. When you constantly said, oh, you can marry 4 women, your Islam is backward, Islam is barbaric, you do this, you do that, it's hard to raise your head up. But when you have the confidence in the deen, and when you realize this is something special, this has the solution to the problems of man, you have that confidence. And with that confidence comes a courage. And your iman, it acts as a barrier. It cuts away and chops away at everything. You don't have any fear. You don't have any worry. You don't have any anxiety. Whatever comes at you, you take it and you deal with it in the way Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught. And the best example I can give you of confidence, of fearlessness, of courage, of conviction is the most simplest example and the most common example. And that is of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Everyone has heard the story a million times. And I want to say the stories to give us motivation and to remind us. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who was he? A shepherd boy. A scared little kid who couldn't stand in front of the Quraysh before Islam. After Islam, there came a time when the companions needed to recite the Quran to the Quraysh. They had a gathering with Rasulullah. Nobody has recited the Quran to the Quraysh yet. Who will recite? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, I will. They all looked at him thinking, you, really? We want somebody else. We want somebody that has some backing with the tribe. If something goes wrong, he has some defense mechanism. Somebody else, put yourself forward. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, no. Let me go, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect me. So he makes his way over to the Kaaba. He sees the Quraysh and he recites the ayahs of Surah Rahman. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman, Allama al-Quran. And he recites this beautiful surah. All of a sudden, he's got the attention of the Quraysh. They see him. What is he saying? What are the words that Ibn Mas'ud is saying? This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has brought. They come over, they beat him, they pummel him, they smash his face in. And he's still reciting, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانِ. He's reciting the Quran. And they're beating him, punching him in his face. He knows this was going to happen. He knew this was going to happen. Yet, he did it. He carried out his duty. He finished reciting, they stopped beating him, and he returned to the companion. And the companion said to him, this is what we feared would happen. Look at the response of Ibn Mas'ud. Ibn Mas'ud said, do not worry, do not fear. The enemies of Islam are not more satisfied, are not more pleased than I am today. This was the response of Ibn Mas'ud. And he said, if you want, I will go again tomorrow and do the same thing again. I'll do the same thing again tomorrow. Even though he got this huge beating, he wants to go and do the same thing again tomorrow. Why? Because he had this conviction in Islam, which grew into this confidence, which manifested itself into this courage, and he was able to undertake those actions. So an important thing for us to have in today's reality, to defend this deen, is to have the same confidence and courage in Islam, and exhibit that, inshallah. The second one I want to discuss is an important thing that we all have to have, and that is speaking the truth. The Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam must continue speaking the truth. We must never remain silent. This is an important task. And when we look at the Anbiya, they always did that. And when we look at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his ashab, they always did that. We must speak the truth. And I can give many examples. Unfortunately, we've lost a bit of time. I was going to give you the example of Abu Dhar. But read up his story. He couldn't contain his Islam. He couldn't hide his Islam. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, go and come back when you've heard I've been successful, he couldn't stop himself. He saw mushriks and he just shouted loud, he said, oh la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasul, and he got beat for it. He got battered, he was beaten so bad he became unconscious. Then when he gained consciousness, he went back and did the same thing again. This is somebody who can't contain the truth, he has to speak out. But the example that I want to give is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. This is a great example. It's the example of the night journey, Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, imagine this, he goes to a journey to meet his creator, and then he comes back to this world. Just imagine the difference. You go to meet your Lord, and then you come back to this world. The next morning when he woke up, he realized that he has to speak about this. He has to tell everybody about this journey, this miraculous journey. A journey which takes months, he did in seconds, he did in minutes. He's got to tell everyone. I went to Masjid al-Aqsa, then I ascended above the heavens, then I went even further. I met my creator. I came back down, came all the way back to Makkah in merely a night. He knew they were going to ridicule him. He knew they were going to laugh at him. What was the response of Rasulullah? He was sitting there, he was concerned, visibly concerned. Who asked what Abu Jahl comes? And Abu Jahl asks him, oh Muhammad, what's new? You know, sarcastic, very sarcastic. What's new? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at that moment, he could have said, you know what, I'll break it to him slowly. Maybe I won't tell them. Maybe sometime later I'll tell them. Maybe I'll milk my words a bit.